Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a Public Works podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, got a real treat for you. Her name is Gabriella Zanzarella, and she is a Stormwater Operations Analyst for the city of High Point in beautiful North Carolina. Gabrielle, say what's up to everybody.
Hi, how's it going?
So do you go by Gabriella or Gabby?
I usually go by Gabby.
Gabby, okay.
Yeah, we keep it
Gabby
more
it is.
casual. Yeah.
Gabby, it is. All right, so Gabby, give us the rundown of High Point, North Carolina. I've never heard of it. I'm sure it's really cool because you're there. So give us kind of the scope of maybe population, square miles, and some of the things that will help everybody have context on what High Point's like.
Yeah. So we are located in the heart of the Triad. So we're in between Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and High Point being that other big one. We're really well known for furniture. We have a long history of furniture manufacturing. Yeah. And now we've got the furniture market that comes around twice a year, some of our bigger events.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got, a population of about 120. So we're a nice little mid-sized municipality, but steadily growing. And overall just beautiful. We get our name from being the high point of the railroad. So that's a little fun fact. So where the railroad comes together in the Triad, we're literally the high point of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's set the table for the rest of them. You might hear a lot of furniture puns. Now you got me going. Let's get the brief rundown of what a stormwater operations analyst is and what she does.
Yeah, awesome. So my role really focuses on protecting water quality at the end of the day. I'm out with my team inspecting wet ponds and dry detention ponds and ensuring compliance and kind of that public safety piece. We're helping maintain the infrastructure that most people don't think about until there's a flood or another big problem. And, at the end of the day, it comes down to environmental stewardship and that real world impact. So we hold a lot of hats. I say we're always spinning a lot of plates, trying to keep them going, whether it's responding to an illicit discharge complaint or complaint of pollution. But at the end of the day, we just try to keep our environment clean and our water clean.
Yeah. One thing I learned about my stormwater buddies is like these huge conferences, there's like, oh, water, and then there's wastewater, and they're like, do we need to cater to stormwater? Like, it's always an afterthought. Why do you think that is? And then go ahead.
No, we're those unsung heroes. I think, all of us in public works, we all have that role, but with the more intense rain that we're getting across the country, I mean, even in Washington right now, it's more important now than ever, I think, to think about stormwater in a different light and have its own spotlight from time to time, at least.
For sure. All right, so walk us through your career path from high school all the way up until today. We got to know the backstory of Gabby in order to know who she is today.
Oh man, that's a fun one. So I kind of took the delayed college route after high school. I took 4 years to get my 2-year associate's degree in community college. And then in the meantime, I was bartending and waiting tables and just doing the typical, 18 to 21-year-old thing. And then I went to college at University of North Carolina at Asheville, where I got a bachelor's of science in environmental management policy and economics. And from there, I went into the nonprofit sector. I did 2 years with AmeriCorps with the nonprofit Asheville Greenworks. Shout out Asheville Greenworks. I worked with them for 2 years and I was the urban forestry coordinator. So I was setting up community nurseries, doing tree giveaways, stream plantings, and kind of community beautification. And I went from that and jumped over to California. I did 2 years out there as the director of operations for another urban forestry nonprofit. That was a great time. I was out there in 2020, so it was a little bit difficult to jump from East Coast to West Coast, but it was definitely a good learning experience. I did that for a couple of years, and then I was just ready to come home. My family was out on the East Coast, and I was ready to make the leap. And I had a good friend who worked with the city who was like, "Gabby, just apply." And I was like, I'm not a water person. I'm a tree person, right? Like, how does one go from trees to water? And I applied for a stormwater specialist 1 position, and they interviewed me. It was like 4 a.m. in California. I was sitting on my floor with all the lights on, and somehow they liked me enough to offer me a job, and so I
Wow.
moved back and been here ever since.
Yeah. That's such a drastic move.
It was a big move. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've moved across the country more than a lot of people I know. It's a few
Yeah.
times back and forth.
It sounds like you have. And also another move that you made, which I kind of wanted to double click on for a little bit. You graduated high school and then you had to find yourself and then you went to college, the delayed route.
Yeah.
A lot of people never make it back once you kind of start working, you get into society, the workforce culture and all that. It's hard to go back to college, especially in your early 20s. So what was kind of that mindset shift that say, you know what, I'm shutting everything else down. I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna get my 4-year degree.
Yeah, I think, it was a good time to find myself. I think had I jumped into the professional college student life early on, don't think I would have been as successful. I think I needed to do a little bit of growing up. And I think I hit it at that right point that I always knew I wanted to go and finish college. That wasn't the question. It was just a matter of when. And I had a little bit of living to do before I was serious enough. In that time I started
Yeah.
hula hoop dancing and I started
Okay.
teaching hula hoop classes, and I would perform for festivals and on stages, and that was a fun life.
Okay.
But ultimately I wanted to do something bigger than myself. And I
Yeah.
kind of knew college was the route to facilitate that.
Sure. The hula hooping. How did you get it? Was 10-year-old Gabby hula hooping all around school,
No,
or what
actually I
got you
could
into
never
it?
hula hoop until my adulthood.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a friend just hula hooping one day, and I was like, good for you. That sounds fun. And then I picked it up and started moving it, and somehow found a flow and taught myself how to do all the tricks and can toss it off the body and catch it in the air. I could hula hoop, one on each limb at the same time, and it became a good passion. And of course I was, waiting tables and not doing much else, so I had plenty of time to focus on becoming a great hula hoop dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that led me to teaching classes in college when I went to university, and that got me a scholarship to go to a disaster response training, since I was a student
Okay.
employee. Yeah, and
Interesting. That's okay.
it kind of led me down a different career path. That disaster response training opened the doors for me going to work internationally in agriculture, which a very weird, serendipitous, full circle moment, so to speak. Yeah, and then that I think opened more paths to where I am, and definitely somehow I say hula hoops reinforced my service mentality for sure.
Interesting. It's funny how you followed a curiosity and then it became a passion, and then you kind of use that passion to parlay it into something that can carry your life, for the future.
Absolutely. And it's funny saying that. I still have a hula hoop tucked behind my desk for long lunch
As you
breaks. Yeah.
should, as you should. Give us real quick on hula hoops. Like, what was your practice regimen like? You get off work. Are you practicing for 2 hours? Are you got YouTube channels up and you're trying to do tricks that
Yeah,
they're doing in China or something? Or
absolutely. Yeah, I would watch a YouTube video and be like, that looked pretty cool. And then I'd try it. I'd hit myself in the face a few times until we got it down. Yeah, maybe bust a lip every now and then. But it was summertime, so it was warm and I could toss it high up in the air. I only broke a TV one time. Yep. It's a good sport. It's a great workout too. But
yeah, I'm
it's
sure.
definitely a good sport. And when you find that like flow state with anything, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
flow mentality, then it's easy
absolutely.
to get more into and invest more into.
No, I mean, what you're saying is right, because whether it's hula hooping or basketball or even our workplace, when you find that practice regimen that merits results, and the results
Hmm.
sometimes they're not quick, like it might take you more than a couple nights to learn a new trick or to refine that trick, but over time you're like, oh, I'm getting it, I'm getting better, I'm getting better, and
Absolutely.
that's what keeps you coming back. And I see that with pretty much all of my adult hobbies and stuff like that I'm taking on. And again, it translates to the workplace. You can continue to get better at your job, and we'll talk about that in a second, but A lot of people think that you got to be able to nail the trick in 10 minutes. And it's like, that's not how it works.
No, it takes years of work and years of practice before you're
Yeah.
finally like, man, I think I'm kind of good at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went back to college, you went from trees to water, kind of agricultural side. What was that something you always wanted to get into? Or was that how did you find your way to the ag side before you got to the stormwater side?
Yeah, so I was at this disaster response training. It's a group called the Consortium for Humanitarian Services and Education. It's a nonprofit that coordinates weekend-long disaster response training for college students. And they so you're in it all weekend. There's maybe a hurricane has hit or a tornado has touched down, and it's mass casualty. You're responding to screaming actors, right? There's blood everywhere. It's very, very intense. And on a flight home, I was talking with one of the instructors. He lived in the Asheville area too, and we had a few-hour layover to get to talking. And he was starting an international agricultural development training for college students. So we went, he later, after I left college, was like, hey, I want you to come and lead this training. I was like, sure, why not? I always say I never really knew where I was headed. The path kept throwing me forward sometimes. And so we went to Mexico. This was January 2020. And brought in students from University of Auburn and students from University of Leon, and we were all on this organic ranch just learning how to do regenerative agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was an awesome use of time, I like to think.
I'm sure, but January 2020, what happened in February? Were you still out there when everything?
We were back by then and
Okay.
planning the next round. And then obviously the pandemic hit and things fell apart. But I am happy to say I've kind of taken a step back, but I'm happy to say that we're revisiting this now. It's kind of coming back online in a new way. So that's something awesome to look forward to.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, give us the day in the life of Gabby. Give us a random Tuesday from the time you get to the office. You put your hula hoop in your trunk, you walk in the office, you sit down. Walk us through what your day looks like.
So yeah, I'm usually coming in and a good hello with my employees. I supervise an awesome group of women right now, so we do our little weekend catch-ups. And I say we gal around for the first little bit while we make our coffee and settle in.
Where's the guys at in this, man?
I know. Look, we're open to all. We've just somehow the vibe check, you know.
I get it.
We love to see the fem and stem, is what I like to say. Yeah. So we do our little updates, and then I'm always here for support for my employees. I say I have the open door policy. Literally, the door's open all the time. I did close it for this though. But so we do our updates. I get the updates on maybe what I missed in the afternoon if there was an after-hours spill report, or just if they have an issue with an SCM inspection, so a wet pond inspection or a dry pond inspection. And then we might go in the field for the whole morning. Maybe there's wet weather sampling that's happening where we're literally out in the rain collecting samples, or just stream samples. It just kind of depends on what's on the schedule that day. And then if I'm not doing that, I'm writing up a report or reviewing a plan or working on the next big education project with someone. So we stay pretty busy. Yeah.
It sounds like it. So a rain report. Are you holding a cup in the air and seeing how much arsenic
I wish.
or whatever's in the water?
I think that would be more fun sometimes. No, usually it's we do wet weather sampling at 4 of our different city facilities, one of those being a landfill. So if it's raining hard enough for long enough, we're out at the landfill all morning collecting samples out of a pipe.
Sure.
Which in the summer, smells a little worse. In the winter, it's not quite as bad. I say I like my job 25% more in the winter.
Okay, 25% more.
Yeah.
What's your go-to rain boot?
Ooh, so obviously we have the classic steel toes that the city gives us, but if I get to pick, it's the extra toughs. I like those. They're the low rise. They're just enough to cover the ankles, and they give you enough wiggle room.
Not showing too much, but kind of keeping it spicy.
Oh yeah, and the colors are pretty great too.
Good stuff. All right. What would be the main skill set somebody should pick up to be successful as a stormwater operations analyst?
Ooh, I would say adaptability and communication are the big ones. Obviously, there's the technical knowledge that you need to know coming into it on how to read a plan and what stormwater is, right? But, stormwater really is at the crossroads of engineering, regulation, field work, and that public engagement. And it takes a special person and a lot of time to be able to learn how to explain that technical knowledge to a wide range of audiences. So I'm speaking with engineers, contractors, property owners, elected officials, and unfortunately it's usually in high pressure situations. So that it's important to be able to communicate that or adapt your communication to a level that everyone can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way you put it. I mean, you're kind of in that intersection of legislation because if statewide, national, federal wise, you kind of have to make sure everything's done right. And then like the local level, like, oh, there's a pond forming in my front yard. Can you come fix it? It's a spectrum. How do you navigate that where you might have on your power suit and you're in this talk with some state officials, and then you got to run out and talk to Susie who calls twice a week because she's complaining about her roses getting flooded out.
Right. It's challenging at times, I think July 9th here in High Point, we had a 6-inch rainstorm in 4 hours, which is a lot of water. Our no system is designed to handle that much capacity at one time. So we had a lot of flooding out, and it went from, let me go talk on the news to, all right, now I have to go talk to this property owner. And I like to say I just like leave one and turn a new face on. I tell my husband all the time, you get work Gabby and home Gabby. And I like to think I can kind of flip that personality a little bit. And at the end of the day, just knowing we're all people, I think, we overthink things and how we communicate. But at the end of the day, we're all people who go home. And I think it's nice to kind of take down some of those barriers at the same time and show a little more personality.
Yeah. What's Gabby like on a road trip or a vacation? Is your husband like rolling his eyes every time you point out a storm drain, or?
He's too sweet to roll his eyes, unfortunately. Okay. Sometimes I need it, but no, he listens. I'm the nerd who's always like, look at this catch basin, or that would never fly in High Point, or something along those lines. Unfortunately, as I've gotten further into my career, when we're traveling, I'm looking at informational materials and seeing how I can get into the next wastewater treatment plant tour.
Okay. I'm sure he loves that.
Oh, he embraces it.
Gotcha. All right, story time. I need a story from Gabby when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Man, so I was actually just talking about this to one of my new employees the other day. In my early stormwater career, there was a wet detention pond that I was inspecting. And not to get too technical with it, a wet detention pond will have a pipe where the water can flow out. And I did my inspection for the year. The pond looked beautiful. I checked the pipe where I thought I could see and sent the compliance letter out, and we moved on. And then about 2 months later, I get a call from someone who had been walking their dog, and they said, hey, this pond's empty. I don't think it should be empty. I've never seen it like this. I was like, okay, that's weird. I'll come out. And then I later found out that a plug that was in the pipe had come loose and fallen out. And, it was 20 feet up the pipe. So I can give myself excuses all day on, I probably just couldn't have seen it. But I had to turn around and then tell the property owner that, hey, when I said you were compliant a couple months ago, you actually have to pay several $1,000s to fix this. And there was quite a bit of frustration.
Just a little bit, I'm sure.
Just a little, as to be expected, right? And at the end of the day, I'm the city lady, so I'm the person to get frustrated with. But we were able to work through it. I explained to the property owner why this is important, not only for water quality, but kind of for that public safety piece and property safety. And we got it repaired, worked with the contractor. So the property owner was kind of able to go hands off. And I was just out there a couple weeks ago, and I'm happy to say it's still holding water. So
All right.
we moved on. Yeah, I learned a lesson. I'm just a little more thorough now and a little more detail oriented. And just kind of take a little, I say I take my time more now when I do these
Gotcha.
inspections.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing that. What's Gabby's go-to to diffuse one of those hot button situations? Hey, you got to pay $10,000 that you didn't think you were gonna have to pay ever. And they're not happy about it. You got to stand there and kind of say, "Oh, I got to take this." So what's going through your mind at that time?
Right. I mean, I always try to come back to that. We're just people, and I've done the no, I understand, and I've had somebody say, no, you don't understand, and I'm like, in a way, I don't. So we just try to talk through it. I let them get out what they need to get out. Because again, at the end of the day, sometimes people just need an ear to get it out too. And then I try to come at it from that educational piece of, we can't change the situation, but we got to move forward. And this is why we have to move forward. And ultimately, he was fine with it. There's been several other instances where people don't really love what I'm enforcing. And I get it. If it were me, I would probably feel the same way. But coming at it from that educational standpoint, and just working with them, I say I'll hold your hand through it. I think tends to help them.
No, that's good. A lot of people just want to be heard for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and not to give you unsolicited advice, but what you should do next time is get out your hula hoop and start a hula hoop. And when they're at the height of like their anger, just start a hula hoop.
Here's a quick distraction.
Yeah. Look over here.
Exactly. I'll use that next time.
Okay, let me know how that goes. All right. How does Gabby continue to show up better and better? You've been at this for, a decent amount of time. Storm is storm, rain is rain. You can kind of put your feet on your desk and go, it's going to come down sooner or later. We'll figure it out. But what do you do intentionally to show up more efficiently year after year, week after week, month after month?
Yeah, I think, the big thing is trying to stay curious with the job. I think that it's easy to get complacent in the processes, and the way we have managed stormwater for a long time has been put a pipe over it. But our weather patterns are changing. More water comes down at one time, and then we don't get rain for a long time. And then we get a ton of rain again at one time. So I like staying curious on what are the new processes and what are my peers around me doing. So what is the city next to me doing, or the city across the state doing, to stay on top of it? And then of course I'm a part of APWA, the American Public Works Association, and that's an amazing network of people who, I think that motivated group of people who come to the plate with new ideas and a fresh look on things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. In football, we have Tom Brady. Basketball, Michael Jordan. Who's the Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, and Stormwater? Like, who do you all look to kind of go, maybe I can model my city program after them, or maybe I can model our, program after that country or this, this entity.
Yeah, so of course I want to say North Carolina is at the top of the map. I think we're that special location in the United States where we kind of get all weather events. And when it comes to in the state, it's a gentleman, Bill Hunt. He works for North Carolina State University, and I think everyone refers to him as the father of stormwater here.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, he's got the fresh ideas. He does all the trainings. He stays curious, and he's leading the research for stormwater across the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Usually I never get an answer for that because I hate to say it like this, it's rarely a like kind of a pecking order or kind of like a flow chart of like who's the best. How do you even quantify it? Like, how do you another question I want to ask is, when does Gabby get her pat on the back? When do you win? Like, when does the city council say, good job, Gabby, because we had X amount of rainfall and no flooding, or we got this much, like what's that win for you and your department?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and it's something we don't think about, but the pat on the back is when I'm not getting a phone call that everything's going right?
Yeah,
That I'm not being told something's falling apart. And Of course, the educational perspective of what we do, I say, is the warm and fuzzy of our job, that it's the why. Like, why are we working in stormwater? And seeing that aha moment for residents when they realize that their storm drains lead to a creek and what they do on their property impacts water quality is just this really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, if city council's not calling me or a resident's not calling me, then there's not a problem, and we're doing a fantastic job.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions about what you do? Like, let's say you're out in the general public and somebody's like, Gabby, what do you do? And you tell them, I'm the Stormwater Operations Analyst for the city of High Point. What do you think they think when you tell them that?
Yeah, I think there's a good amount of misconceptions when it comes to stormwater work. I think a lot of people just think we're one of the city people or we're just replacing pipes or patching the roads. But it's more than just that inspection and enforcement aspect. A lot of the job that we do is education, collaboration, and ultimately problem solving. Many of our conversations lead to ways to help people. We want to help people understand why these requirements exist and what we can do to work with them. And we want to help them, not have property damage or help empower them to protect our water quality. I can get on the rooftop of City Hall and scream for days about only rain down the drain, but there's 120,000 residents here that I want to empower to have the cleanest water possible. And there's a lot of behind the scenes planning that goes into that, whether it's data management or me and my team coming up with a school education event or a new outreach program. There's a lot that goes into it beyond just there's a pipe in the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of High Point. What ask of your community would you put on this billboard in regards to stormwater?
So it's funny that you asked that. I actually did design a billboard earlier this year.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. We put it in the Southwest District in High Point, which not the most trafficked, but does get a lot of traffic. And the big message, only rain down the drain. That's, I think, the slogan for stormwater. Our stormwater systems flow directly into our environment. So that billboard had the messaging of, not putting trash in the storm drain, don't dump your motor oil in the storm drain. And then also we provided our customer service number so that people can report pollution issues. I don't want to just scream, stop doing something without empowering people to stop doing it or to ask questions. So we also gave that kind of call to action as well.
Sure. Does that customer service number ring directly to you, or does it hit a switchboard first?
So it'll hit the switchboard first, and then they'll send it on to me or my team. Usually my admin will intercept it before I get to it, but ultimately it usually comes to me.
And what's normally the kind of questions or comments or thoughts that come through that? Is, oh, I think my neighbor's dumping something, or is it, what are some of the most notorious or frequent calls that you get?
Yeah, I always say it depends, which is a frustrating answer for me. And I hate giving it back, but certain times of year we'll see grass clippings go in the roadways. So we'll go and talk to a property owner about that. We have a decent amount of industry here in High Point. We have chemical companies, there's paint companies, milk companies. So maybe there's a forbidden latte that made it into the creek that we have to work with somebody to clean up, or a property owner who's concerned that the chemical plant upstream has polluted the waterway. It's always a scary call when it is a chemical company. It's like, hey, we spilled something in the parking lot. But we've tried to take the proactive approach after several years to they know to call us immediately, and they know how to stop the spill before it hits the storm drain. But yeah, we do get several of those calls, and they're never fun, but it's, at the end of the day, keeping our streams clean is important, and I'd rather get the call than not get the call.
Gotcha. Do you ever find like chairs or tables in the culverts? Because it's a furniture city.
Always, always. If not a whole chair, it's a chair leg. We found quite a bit of furniture. Of course, mattresses, which I'm looking for the bed frame, not just the mattress. But
Yeah, where's the headboard of this thing?
exactly, I need to furnish my house.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors that you had along your journey. And then I want you to give a word of inspiration, kind of a Gabby Zanzarella pep talk to other stormwater operations analysts across the country.
Ooh, so I've got quite a few mentors over the years in my various careers, but I think in my stormwater career, there's a gentleman, Andrew Martin, who works in the private sector. He took me on last year as a mentor, and he was so proactive, and we went to lunch every month, and he usually initiated it, which is great. And any question I've ever had, he's been openly answering it. And maybe I'm frustrated with how to handle something, and I'll call him, and he's quick to kind of talk me through it or give his perspective with his years of experience. And we don't meet quite as often anymore, but he's still somebody I would say I would go to. And then my little word of inspiration, I think that's a tough one. But I think, we're here doing a good thing. I think, there's that call to action in public services, but ultimately all of us are doing something to protect water for the future and ensuring that for future generations and keeping people safe, and that education piece is critical in it. But I think we're all here doing something important, so just keep going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's say I'm coming to town. I'm coming to High Point, North Carolina, looking for a couch, but I get hungry. And I say, Gabby, where can I go to get the best burger in High Point? Where are you going to send me?
Oh, my favorite spot is Sweet Old Bill's. It's a nice little pub style restaurant. It's located to a really good brewery as well. So you can grab your burger and walk over and grab your beer, and a nice little outdoor area.
Okay.
High Point's really on the come up. So when you
Okay.
do come, Sweet Old Bill's is the spot to check out.
All right. Sweet Old Bills it is. Well, Gabby, thanks for hopping on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Gabby, any final words before we get out of here?
Oh, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. This is great. And I hope that everyone else in public works keeps doing the good work.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Gabby, thanks for hopping on. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in.